The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor. Before Amara could process what was happening, Junho's palm cracked across her face with enough force to snap her head sideways. The entire restaurant went silent. "You embarrassed me," he hissed in English, his Korean accent thick with rage. "In front of my associates. Over a parking space?" Amara's cheek burned, but she didn't raise her hand to it. She stood perfectly still, in her simple black dress, surrounded by Seoul's elite in their designer suits. Junho's 3 friends, all sons of powerful Korean businessmen, watched with barely concealed amusement. "Your wife needs to learn her place," Min-suk drawled in Korean, thinking she couldn't understand. "Maybe you should have married Korean. At least they know respect." The others laughed. Junho didn't defend her. 6 months. That's how long Amara had been married to this man. 6 months since she'd left her Shaolin temple in China, believing his promises of love and partnership. 6 months of him slowly revealing his true nature, controlling, dismissive, cruel. "Apologize," Junho demanded. "To me and to my friends. Now." Amara's dark eyes met his. For just a moment, something flickered there, something cold and dangerous that made Min-suk's smile falter. But then she lowered her gaze, the perfect picture of a submissive wife. "I'm sorry," she said softly. Junho smirked, turning back to his friends. "See? She can be trained." He had no idea what he'd just awakened. They moved to Junho's penthouse for drinks, him, his 3 friends, and Amara, who was expected to serve them like hired help. She brought whiskey in crystal glasses while they sprawled across the leather furniture, speaking in rapid Korean. "I still can't believe you married her," Taeyong said, accepting his drink without looking at her. "What were you thinking?" "It was a phase," Junho waved dismissively. "I thought exotic would be exciting. Turns out it's just disappointing." Amara's hand didn't shake as she poured. 16 years in the Shaolin temple had taught her control. Master Chen's voice echoed in her memory. "True strength is invisible until the moment it's needed." "Does she even know how to cook Korean food?" Sungjin asked. "Or is she too busy being offended by everything?" "She's offended I don't let her work," Junho laughed. "Can you imagine? My wife working like a common woman. My father would disown me." The 3 friends erupted in laughter. Amara set down the whiskey bottle with precise care. "Is there anything else you need?" she asked in perfect Korean. They froze. Junho's face went pale. "You speak Korean?" "Fluently. I've understood every word you've said for 6 months." Her voice was calm, almost pleasant, including tonight. "Including every time you've called me stupid, worthless, and a mistake." Min-suk stood up, his face flushing with anger. "You dishonest." "Careful," Amara interrupted softly. "Choose your next words very carefully." Something in her tone made all 4 men hesitate. "You don't get to threaten us," Junho said, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. "This is my home, my country. You're nothing here without me." "Nothing?" Amara tilted her head. "Is that what you think?" "I think you need to remember who you're talking to." Junho stepped closer, looming over her with his height. "I own you. Your visa, your bank accounts, your entire existence here depends on me, so watch your mouth." Taeyang snickered. Maybe she needs another reminder of her place. Amara's eyes moved to him. "Touch me. I dare you." The room went electric. Taeyang, drunk and offended, lunged forward with his hand raised. What happened next took exactly 1.3 seconds. Amara's body shifted like water. She caught his wrist mid-swing, twisted with surgical precision, and used his own momentum to send him crashing face-first into the coffee table. The glass top cracked. Taeyang lay groaning, his arm bent at an unnatural angle. The other 3 men stared in shock. "What the hell?" Sungjin started. Amara turned to face them, her stance relaxed but her eyes sharp as blades. "I trained at the Shaolin Temple for 16 years. I am a 32nd generation disciple of Kung Fu. I've broken boards, bricks, and bones. I've sparred with masters who could kill a man with a single strike. She paused. Your friend is lucky I used restraint. Junho's face twisted with rage and humiliation. You crazy! No, I'm done. Amara's voice cut through his words. Done being disrespected. Done being your servant. Done pretending to be weak so your fragile ego stays intact. Get out of my house. Gladly. Amara walked to the bedroom with 3 furious men shouting behind her. She ignored them, moving with the efficiency of someone who'd been planning this moment for weeks. Her emergency bag was already packed, hidden behind winter coats Junho had bought her and never let her wear. You think you can just leave? Junho appeared in the doorway, blocking her exit. Min-suk and Sung-jin flanked him, their faces ugly with anger. I'll have you deported. I'll call immigration right now. You'll be blacklisted from ever returning to Korea. Amara zipped her bag. Do it. I'd rather be deported than spend another night under your roof. You ungrateful, Min-suk started forward. She turned, and something in her movement made him stop. It wasn't a martial arts stance, she was just standing there with her bag. But there was an absolute stillness to her body. A coiled readiness that screamed danger to anyone with survival instincts. I broke your friend's arm with minimal effort, she said calmly. If you want to test me further, step closer. You're insane, Sung-jin muttered, pulling out his phone. I'm calling the police. Please do. I'd love to tell them about the slap, about the verbal abuse, about how you've been holding my passport hostage. Amara's eyes fixed on Junho. Go ahead. Call them. Junho's jaw clenched. They all knew that kind of attention would damage his reputation, and in Korean high society, reputation was everything. His father would be furious if this became public scandal. Get out, he said finally. But you'll regret this. I promise you that. Amara walked past him without another word, leaving her wedding ring on the hallway table. At 11 p.m., Amara stood outside a small martial arts studio in Itaewon, Seoul's international district. The lights were still on inside. Through the window, she could see an elderly Korean man practicing forms, slow, deliberate, perfect. She knocked. Master Kwon opened the door, his weathered face breaking into surprise when he saw her. Amara? At this hour? Then he saw her bruised cheek and her bag. His expression hardened. Come inside. Master Kwon was one of Korea's last traditional Kung Fu masters. Someone she'd met months ago at a cultural exchange event. He'd recognized her Shaolin training immediately and had invited her to practice with him any time. Junho had forbidden it. Now, sitting in his small office above the studio, Amara told him everything. Master Kwon listened in silence, his face growing darker with each detail. You should file charges, he said finally. Assault, abuse, passport theft. I will. Tomorrow. Amara's voice was tired. Tonight, I just need a place to think. You'll stay here. I have a spare room upstairs. Master Kwon stood. But Amara, you need to understand something. Men like Junho and his friends, wealthy, connected, arrogant, they don't let things go. They'll come after you. They'll try to destroy your reputation, maybe even harm you. I know. And you're prepared for that? Amara met his eyes. For the first time that night, she smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. Master Chen always said my weakness was holding back. Maybe it's time I stop. Master Kwon studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Then we begin your real training tomorrow. If you're going to fight them, you need to be ready for a war. 3 days later, Amara was practicing forms in Master Kwon's studio when her phone exploded with notifications. Her hands were wrapped, her body covered in sweat from 2 hours of intensive training. She checked the screen and her stomach dropped. Someone had posted photos of her online, dozens of them. Photos of her at the restaurant. Photos that had been doctored to make her look drunk, aggressive, unhinged. The captions were in Korean. Crazy foreign wife attacks husband's friends. Gold digger shows true colors. Violent woman assaults innocent businessman. The comments were worse. Thousands of them. calling her every slur imaginable. Master Quan looked over her shoulder, his face grim. Junho? Has to be. Amara scrolled through the posts, her jaw tight. They'd created an entire narrative casting her as the villain, and themselves as victims. Taeyang had even posted hospital photos of his brutal assault, carefully angled to hide that he'd attacked her first. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Don't answer, Master Quan warned. She answered anyway. Put it on, speaker. Enjoying your 15 minutes of fame? Junho's voice dripped with satisfaction. By tomorrow, every person in Seoul will know your face. Every employer, every landlord, every shop owner. You'll be unemployable, untouchable. You're destroying my reputation with lies. I'm protecting mine with strategy. There's a difference. He paused. Come home. Apologize publicly. Play the reformed wife, and I'll make this go away. Refuse, and I'll bury you so deep, you'll wish you'd never left China. Amara looked at Master Quan. He shook his head firmly. Don't do it. I'll think about it, she said finally. You have 24 hours. Junho hung up. You're not actually considering going back, Master Quan said. It wasn't a question. No. Amara set down her phone. But I am considering making them pay. Properly. Amara. They posted lies. I'll post truth. She pulled up her phone again. Junho thinks I'm helpless because I don't have connections. But he forgot something important. What? I'm not helpless. I'm trained. Amara started typing. And I have proof. I recorded our last conversation before I left him, admitting to holding my passport, to the slap, to everything. I also have bank statements showing he controlled all my money. And now, I have his threatening phone call. Master Quan's eyes widened. You recorded that? Always. Since week 2 of our marriage, when I realized what he really was. Amara's fingers flew across the screen. I'm going to post everything online. The real story. The recordings. The documentation. And then, I'm going to challenge him. Challenge him how? Amara looked up, her eyes burning with purpose. Junho and his friends think they're untouchable. They think money and status make them powerful. I'm going to challenge them to a public martial arts demonstration. Traditional Kung Fu versus whatever they think they can throw at me. They'll never accept. Yes, they will. Amara smiled coldly. Because I'll make it impossible for them to refuse. I'll call them cowards publicly. In Korean culture, that kind of humiliation, they'll have to respond or lose face completely. And when they do, she cracked her knuckles. I'll show all of Seoul exactly who the real victim is. Master Quan was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. All right, but we do this right. Legally, publicly. No room for them to twist the narrative. Agreed. Then let's get to work. Amara's post went viral within hours. She'd uploaded everything, the recordings, the bank statements, photos of her bruised face with timestamps, and a detailed account in both English and Korean. But it was her final paragraph that made it explode across Korean social media. Junho and his friends mock me for being foreign, for being a woman, for being weak. They hide behind money and status while assaulting others with no consequences. I challenge them to a traditional martial arts demonstration at Olympic Park, Saturday at 2 p.m. If they're so superior, prove it. Or admit you're cowards who can only hit women when no one's watching. The internet erupted. Korean netizens loved a good scandal, and this had everything: wealthy villains, an underdog story, martial arts, and public humiliation. Within 24 hours, the hashtag number challenge accepted was trending. News outlets picked it up. People started choosing sides. Junho's father called him furious at the negative attention. His business partners began distancing themselves. The country club where he played golf suddenly lost his reservation. On Thursday, Junho posted his response. I accept, but when I prove you're nothing but a liar looking for attention, you'll leave Korea and never return. Amara's response was simple. See you Saturday. By Saturday morning, over 5,000 people had RSVP'd to watch at Olympic Park. News cameras were setting up. Master Quan had arranged for legitimate referees and a proper ring. This wasn't a street fight, this was a public demonstration with legal oversight. As Amara wrapped her hands in the changing tent, Master Quan put a hand on her shoulder. Remember, this isn't about revenge. It's about truth. I know. Amara stood, rolling her shoulders. But the truth is going to hurt them, a lot. The crowd was massive. News helicopters circled overhead. Amara stepped into the demonstration ring wearing simple black training clothes, her hair pulled back tight. Across from her, Junho stood in expensive athletic wear, flanked by Min-suk and Sung-jin. Tae-young watched from the sidelines, his arm still in a cast. "We had professionals train us this week," Junho announced to the crowd in Korean, his voice amplified by microphones. "We're going to expose this fraud for what she is." The referee, a respected taekwondo master, explained the rules. 3 rounds. Points for clean techniques. No permanent damage. First to 15 points or last standing wins. The crowd held its breath. Round 1 lasted 40 seconds. Junho charged forward with a clumsy punch. Amara sidestepped, swept his legs, and had him on the ground before he could blink. Points? 5-0. Min-suk tried next, attempting a taekwondo kick he'd clearly learned that week. Amara caught his leg, twisted, and sent him spinning to the mat. The crowd gasped. Points. 10-0. Sung-jin was smarter. He tried to grapple, use his size advantage. Amara demonstrated a Shaolin joint lock that had him tapping out in 3 seconds, his face red with pain and humiliation. Points. 15-0. Match over. All 3 men defeated in under 2 minutes. The crowd exploded, half cheered, half stood in shocked silence. News cameras captured everything, including Junho's face, twisted with rage and humiliation, as thousands watched him be publicly dismantled by the woman he'd called weak. Amara walked to the center of the ring. The referee raised her hand in victory. She looked directly at Junho. "You taught me something important," she said into the microphone, her voice carrying across the park. "You taught me that staying silent about abuse doesn't make it go away. It just makes abusers bolder." She turned to address the crowd. "To every person watching who's ever been told they're nothing, you're not. You're strong. And sometimes strength means fighting back." The applause was deafening. As Amara left the ring, she saw Master Quan smiling proudly. She saw news reporters rushing to interview her. She saw social media exploding with support. And she saw Junho being led away by his father, whose face promised there would be severe consequences for bringing this kind of shame to their family name. 3 months later, Amara opened her own martial arts studio in Itaewon. It was small, but it was hers. The sign above the door read, "Strength and Grace Kung Fu, all welcome." Her first students were mostly women, Korean, foreign, young, old, women who'd seen her fight and wanted to learn how to be that strong. Junho never contacted her again. His friends avoided Itaewon entirely. And Amara? She finally felt free. Sometimes the best revenge isn't violence. It's living well, fighting back, and refusing to be silent. But when violence is necessary, make sure you know Kung Fu. The moral lesson of this story is that never mistake someone's silence for weakness. And if you're being mistreated, document everything. Find your strength, and fight back smartly, not just with emotion, but with strategy and courage. Abusers only have power when you stay silent.